All right, guys, it is Monday, February 5th, 2024. So, Darrell Starbird's car show in Tulsa is coming up on the 16th, I think, is when it's coming up. So it's just a couple of weeks away. Now, I was thinking in the beginning that I would take a week before and start working on my 55 to get it finalized and ready for that show. There's a lot of loose ends on my car I want to tie up, and then there's some stuff I need to fix before getting it over there. So one of the things is I want to try to sand and buff the car because the paint has tightened up. It's shrunk. Urethane paint shrinks, and it's shrunk a little bit, and it's tightened up, and it looks like crap. So I want to sand and buff the car, and the problem is I got to take a lot of the trim back off to do that. And I run the risk of sanding through the paint job, and if I do that, that's a repaint. So not the entire car, it's just going to be the panel. Like if I sand through the door edge or something, I'll have to respray the door. So if I just have a week to do that, I don't have enough time to get the door repainted and reshot if I go through. So if I have 2 weeks, like if I start this week on that, I can cover it. You know what I mean? And then after going around it and really looking at stuff, and I was writing out stuff in the notebook of things that I want to do, and then there's a few things that I might do. So I'm kind of picking and choosing my battles of what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to start a little bit today, and then probably the rest of the week, and then the rest of next week, and just work on my car. I'm kind of at a standstill on Steve's car for a few days anyway, because I had to order some etching primer, and I ordered a quart of all metal. So I am going to wait on that stuff to come in. Once I get the etching primer on the trunk areas that are bare metal, I can go ahead and seam seal all those areas, and then that can, I want to put the etching primer on and let it set, so that will be something when it comes in. I'm going to go ahead and etch prime it. But anyway, that way that stuff can kind of cure out a little bit, and then I can go in and scuff it and shoot the bed liners on. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on my car for a couple of weeks. So after Starbird show is over, it's back to business as usual on Steve's car and try to get it knocked out. So a lot of people wonder why they haven't seen a lot of videos from me lately, and there's several reasons, but the very biggest reason is it's winter time. I don't usually do a lot in the winter time. I don't like cold weather. I'm a warm weather guy. I have arthritis really bad, and cold weather doesn't mix. So, you know, I just don't do a whole lot. That's just the way it is. So when it's 110 degrees outside this summer, I'll be out here all day long, working all day long. I don't care. But as far as winter time goes, I just don't do a lot, is bottom line. But I did get all the metalwork and grinding and all the crap done on Steve's trunk finally, so I'm glad of that. I need a break from that car anyway. So anyway, I've got a lot of loose ends to tie up on this car and stuff that I never got to that I want to get done for that show. That was the whole premise of building this car the way I did, was to put mirrors under it, and the only time I'm going to put mirrors under it is at an indoor car show. I have never had any of my cars in an indoor show anywhere, so this is going to be a first for me. I've always done outdoor car shows like on a Saturday in towns, you know what I mean? So anyway, it's kind of a new thing for me, but I've never even put mirrors under any of my cars before at a show, but this will be the first one for that. But I've got to sand and buff the bottom side of the rockers. I've never done that. I need to get that done. I want to sand and buff the whole car because the paint's tightened up, and I'm running the risk of going through the paint, and it's going to really make me mad if I do. The firewall's kind of dulled back out because it was sanded and buffed 2 or 3 years ago, so I need to go back and buff on that. I'm just going to use an orbital polisher. I have a really small angle-headed one that takes the little bitty pads, so I'm going to go in there and try to do that. So I'll have to put plastic over the engine and all kinds of stuff. So I got a lot of work to do. This little stuff is what's going to take a lot of time. I was thinking about pulling the radiator out and painting it black, because that was originally what I was going to do to begin with, was paint this black. And I've just decided I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to leave it. By the time I take everything loose and pull everything out, I'm probably going to chip and scratch paint trying to get it out. because of the way these mount on these cars. So I'm just going to leave it. But that's why I have a black radiator cap, was because I was planning on painting this black originally. I just didn't do it. So I ordered this morning this exact cap in polished aluminum, so it'll be better matched for that. I may go ahead and remove this tube and paint it as silver so it blends in with the radiator. If I painted this black, it would really stick off on that aluminum radiator. So that's why I'm thinking about painting it silver. But anyway, there's lots of little odds and ends that I need to get done on the car, but I'd love to sand and buff the entire car all over again, just because the paint's tightened up on it and I'm not happy with it. So anyway, I've got to change the gaskets out on the door locks, the little rubber gaskets. This one has completely cracked and just went to pieces, and those things are only like 2 years old. So I got another set here. I'm going to change those out. It just sucks, man. That's ridiculous, that little stuff like that. But anyway, I got to change a piece of Velcro out on my trunk upholstery kit. I've got one loop piece of the Velcro that it's just not grabbing. It'll stick for a few seconds and then it just lets go. So I'm going to replace that, and I've got it stapled on the back side. So I'm going to have to pull all that apart, pull the staples out, and then cut a piece and staple it back in. I got a lot of cleanup and detail to do underneath the car. I've never detailed the underneath of the car after it was painted and everything, and it is covered in thick dust under there. So I've got to get that cleaned up a little bit. I also need to pull all the wheels off. I need to polish the back side of the hoops. So these wheels in particular, when you buy them, the hoop is fully polished. So the back side of the rim and the inside and outside of the rim are fully polished. And I've polished on these before on the outside, but I haven't done the inside, I think, but once. And these are kind of gray looking, so I need to go back and polish those with some mothers. I've got a couple of panels I need to make. I hope I have steel for that. So I've got the original panels that go on these seats. There's a little flat panel that screws on here, and it's supposed to be upholstered, and I could not upholster it and get it to look good. So it's like a cover plate that screws on here, and I can't do it without getting wrinkles in it. So what I'm decided to do is use some plate steel, and I'm going to cut them out. I'm actually going to make them just a little bit bigger, and I'm going to drill holes and countersink them so they can screw on with some countersink screws. But I'm going to just paint them trim black. And you know, it's something you don't really see unless the seat's pulled forward or whatever. You don't really see that, but I definitely want to get that done for the show. I don't know how far the judges go at that show. I heard they actually look at stuff if you have your door open and stuff, so I want to make sure it's pretty much dialed in. This thing's just covered in dust everywhere. I mean, you can see all the dust on everything in here, but I need to rebuff the firewall. I've got a really small orbital angle head polisher to do for that with. Just lots of little things, just lots of little stuff. Little touch-ups I need to do here and there. Just things I haven't ever finished, you know what I mean? But that's the plan, is just get that thing. I want it 100% dialed in. And I'm leery of sanding and buffing the paint, but it needs to be done. The passenger side door is the worst. I buffed that, sanded and buffed it like 2 days after I painted it during the winter time, and I don't have a baking booth. I painted it in here in the garage. So that paint wasn't ready to be polished yet, sanded on, and it was gumming the paper and it was scratching it, and I was having a hell of a time with it, and I've just never been happy with that door. So it really tightened up. So I want to pull all the door handle, the lock, and the door spear off and go back and resand and polish that whole door for sure. That'll be the first thing I start on, is that. I could kind of live with everything else on the car, but that door definitely needs to be done. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I got a lot of little stuff to do and finalize and finish. What else? But anyway, that's the plan. That's it, cut and dry. I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 weeks on my car, try to get it dialed in, and then after that show wraps, it'll be back to business as usual on Steve's car. I said it in the last video, I want to have his car done by mid-spring. I've got so many other projects going on now. I need to get his car done and out of here so I can work on this other stuff. My wife's four-door's been sitting in our front yard since Steve's car got here, and it is pretty much a swimming pool inside. So I need to get it back under the carport at least, but anyway, that's the plan. But when the etching primer comes in, I am going to go ahead and etch prime the trunk floor of his car. That way that stuff can set up a little bit, you know what I mean? But most of the stuff I'm going to do the next couple of weeks is my car specific. But I still haven't entered that car show, and the reason is this new computer I have has Windows 11 on it, and I cannot figure out how to get pictures off that computer or on that computer. I took some pictures of my car and I imported them to the computer, and when I went to import it, it came up with a couple of things, and I check marked photos. So thought it was all said and done, and when I go back in to try to find the photos, it says there's no items to view. I don't have any idea. I went through this a couple of weeks ago. The subscriber that gave me the 55 from Texas, he sent me a whole bunch of pictures, and I tried to save those to the computer, and it saves them. It says saved when you click on it and stuff, but they're not in that computer. I can't find them. And there's not even a recent tab that I can find to click on recent to see if it's in there. So I'm going to have to probably get a hold of a computer expert and figure out where the hell the pictures are. But I have to submit a picture of that car before I can enter it in the show. So I'm going to try to get it figured out tonight. I'm going to get my resident expert, which would be my wife, see if she can do it. And if she can't, then I'll walk across the street over here to my neighbor and see if he knows how I can do it. He's an IT guy for a living, so he'll know probably how to do it. I could probably watch a video, but who wants to do that to learn how to do something, right? So hopefully they still have an opening in that show, which the last several years I've went, there's always a lot of open space on that upper level at that show, so I'm not really worried about it being sold out of spaces. And I'm not getting a 20 by 20 space. I'm just going to go in with the rest of the cars that are always, bumper to bumper in a line, and the Starbird show has their own rope or whatever that is going across. I'm going to be with all the rest of the people like that, because if you get a 20 by 20 space, you have to have the stanchions and the display stuff and the stands and the lights and mirrors. I don't have none of that. I'm not going to go spend all that kind of money, which I don't have to begin with, on all that stuff to use it one time. I doubt I put that car back in that show again next year, because to me, it's old news after this year. Nobody wants to go to a car show and see the same cars year after year, you know what I mean? I don't. So I'm probably most likely not going to mess with showing it next year at that same show. Hopefully maybe have my wife's car there or something, something different, who knows. But I go every year, I've just never put a car in it. So anyway, if I don't get my car in the show because of, not getting it put in time, I'm definitely going to go and video the car show and do it as my yearly video that I put on YouTube of the show coverage. But it'll be a Saturday, because I always go on Saturday. And I usually get there right when they open, because the line's not really long. And then I go in and video everything. But if I do get my car in the show, I'm probably not going to be the guy that sets with the car, I don't think. The main reason is, there's really, the way they set those cars up, there's not, unless it's a car club that has a lot of the club cars there, they usually have an area they put a bunch of chairs. But on the other stuff, the cars that are just in line bumper to bumper, there's really nowhere to put chairs. And I don't want to sit with a car all day long at a car show for 3 days. It's not my idea of a good time, man. So I'm probably not going to be there day in, day out all day, all 3 days. I don't really like sitting around a car anyway. It's just boring to me. I'd rather be out walking and talking and looking at stuff, you know what I mean? So anyway, if you see me at the show, I'll definitely be around there for sure somewhere. But anyway, I got a lot of stuff to do. Man, this thing is dusty. Look across that cowl, how much dust there is, and the air cleaner too. So I wiped the outside down with a cloth, but that's about it. But I'll have to definitely go over the whole car. So I'll have it dialed in for that show if I have a space, but that's the plan. So anyway, guys, I'm going to jump off here. I don't know if I'll post any videos next week or two. I might put a few videos out. It just depends. But if it's a really cold day, like if we get another bout of that 10-degree weather and stuff, I ain't working on nothing. I'm going to stay in the house. So With that being said, thanks for watching.